V. Ever wondered what truly sets the English and the Scottish apart? Is it just the accents and the kilts versus, well, no kilts? Or is there something deeper, something written in their very DNA and history books? Let's dive into the real differences between the people of England and Scotland. First, let's talk genetics. You might think, they're all from the same island. How different can they be? Well, it's fascinatingly complex. Modern genetic studies have painted a detailed picture of the British Isles. The English population generally shows a strong mix of Anglo-Saxon DNA, from Germanic tribes who migrated across the North Sea around 1,500 years ago. This is layered on top of an older Celtic Britain foundation. So, if you trace the average English person's ancestry, you'll find a significant connection to modern-day Denmark and northern Germany. It's like a genetic tapestry woven over centuries. Now, let's head north of the border. The genetic makeup of Scottish people tells a different story. While there's overlap, of course, the Scottish population has a much stronger proportion of Celtic DNA. We're talking about the Picts, the Gaels, and the Celtic Britons, who were there long before the Anglo-Saxons showed up. In fact, Scotland, particularly the Highlands and Islands, acted as a sort of Celtic stronghold. The influence of Viking DNA is also much more pronounced in certain parts of Scotland, especially in places like Orkney and Shetland, which were Norse territories for centuries. So, while an English person might have a family tree with deep roots in Anglo-Saxon migrations, a Scottish person is more likely to branch back to ancient Celtic clans and Viking seafarers. It's not a clear-cut divide, but a difference in proportion and historical influence. This genetic divergence is a direct result of their unique histories. Let's rewind the clock. After the Romans left Britain, the island fragmented. The south and east, what would become England, were gradually settled and then conquered by Anglo-Saxon kingdoms like Wessex and Mercia. This is where the English language, an Anglo-Saxon or Germanic language, began to take shape. This period laid the groundwork for a distinct English identity. Meanwhile, in the north, the Kingdom of Scotland was forming from a completely different mix of peoples. You had the Picts, a mysterious and powerful group, the Gaels who came over from Ireland bringing the Gaelic language, the Britons of Strathclyde, and the Angles in the southeast. These groups eventually unified under one crown, creating a kingdom that constantly had to define itself against its larger, more powerful southern neighbour. These constant struggle for independence, from the wars of Scottish independence, with figures like William Wallace and Robert the Bruce, right up to the modern day, has forged a very strong and distinct national identity. While England's history is one of expansion and empire, Scotland's is often one of resistance and preservation. Think about the Act of Union in 1707. This created Great Britain, but it wasn't a merger of equals in practice. Scotland kept its own legal system, its own church, the Presbyterian Church of Scotland, and its own education system. These institutions were fiercely protected and have remained distinct to this day. So, while they share a parliament in Westminster, many of the core structures of daily life remain fundamentally different. This isn't ancient history. It affects life in Scotland right now. The Scots law, for instance, is based on Roman law principles, unlike the English common law system. Little differences like this, stacked up over 300 years, create two very different societal experiences. Now let's talk about culture, because this is where the differences really come alive. Language is a huge one. While most Scots speak English, they speak Scottish English, which is peppered with its own unique words, phrases, and a melody that's instantly recognizable. Then you have the Scots language, a Germanic language related to English, but distinct enough to be considered a language in its own right. And of course, there's Scottish Gaelic, a Celtic language that, while spoken by a minority, is a hugely important part of Scotland's cultural heritage, especially in the Highlands and Islands. This linguistic diversity is something you don't find in the same way in England. What about national symbols? England has the red rose, the three lions, and St. George. Scotland has the thistle, the Celtic flag, and St. Andrew. These aren't just pictures on a flag. They represent centuries of separate traditions and folklore. Think about the arts. England gave the world Shakespeare, Dickens, and the Beatles. Scotland gave us Robert Burns, Walter Scott, and a deep, soulful tradition of folk music that tells stories of love, loss, and rebellion. The sound of bagpipes can stir a sense of national pride in a Scot that is powerful and unique to their culture. Even the national character, if we can dare to generalize, often seems different. The English are stereotypically seen as more reserved, polite, and perhaps a bit formal. The Scots, on the other hand, are often stereotyped as being fiery, passionate, incredibly friendly, and possessing a famously dry, self-deprecating wit. Of course, these are just stereotypes, and you'll find all types of personalities in both countries. But stereotypes often grow from a kernel of truth, shaped by history and environment. The harsher, more dramatic landscape of Scotland might just breed a different kind of resilience and humour than the rolling green hills of southern England. Let's not forget sports. When England plays Scotland in football or rugby, it's not just a game. It's a national event, charged with history and rivalry. The passion on display is immense. It's a modern, peaceful outlet for that centuries-old dynamic of the smaller nation trying to get one over on the bigger one. For many Scots, a victory over the old enemy is the sweetest victory of all. Even their approach to national identity is different. In England, Englishness and Britishness are often blurred and used interchangeably. Many English people see themselves as British first. In Scotland, the distinction is much clearer. People are Scottish first, and then British. This has become even more pronounced in recent decades with the rise of the Scottish National Party and the ongoing debate about independence. The desire for self-governance runs deep in the Scottish psyche, a direct legacy of its history as a separate sovereign kingdom. So, are the English and Scottish different? Absolutely. It's not about one being better than the other. It's about celebrating two distinct, vibrant cultures that have grown side by side on the same island. Their differences are etched into their genes, written in their histories, and sung in their songs. From the Anglo-Saxon roots of the English to the Celtic and Norse heritage of the Scots, their paths diverged long ago, creating two peoples who, despite sharing a queen and a country, have maintained their own unique soul. Understanding these differences doesn't divide them. It actually helps us appreciate the incredible richness and complexity of the island of Great Britain. Thanks for watching. It's a huge topic, and we've only scratched the surface. What other differences have you noticed? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through history and culture, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. See you next time.